Okay, well, welcome everyone. So glad that you could find time out of your busy schedule to come and be with your colleagues today. We have some important things to share with you and for you to engage with. So the first 30 minutes, we're going to share some things with you. And the last hour or so, we're going to engage in some work that we started during our fall convocation. So again, welcome. I want to start by saying some things around the outcome of our election and how it has unleashed a lot of emotions, unsettledness, uncertainty, and of course anxiety for many of our students and for ourselves and our employees here, not just here, but also across the country. And one of the things I wanted to share were some wise words from our President Obama, who said, we're all part of the American family, and we all share in one common value around respect and, of course, being valued and having, for us in our community standard, having those lively discussions, because if they can happen here, where can they happen? So I want to talk about a few things that have begun to bubble up here at our own campus and our response to that. So the first thing is we do have a community standard. We started that almost 2 years ago as a result of two incidents that happened, one around our queer film festival and the other around an incident that happened actually in Paris that affected our Muslim students and on our campus. And as a result, we put together a community standard. There were 4 things that task force was charged to do. The first one was around a policy. We developed that. The second was a standard statement, which we completed. The third was aligning this work with Title IX and on a marketing campaign. And the fourth had to do with the protocol. And like all things, the protocol is on a piece of paper, but we haven't really had to activate it in the way that we believe we will need to in the ongoing months. So one of the things we want to do is to ensure that we have a way to capture what's going on and to respond. And so this morning, when I met with the Title IX coordinators, we want to use that network. So if you hear something, if you're aware of something, please, you can reach out to the Title IX coordinators. There's also a mailbox that you can share information, and we want to gather that for several reasons. The first one is that we want to make sure that when we have discussions, we want to do a couple of things that I've also heard. One, we want to make sure that they're coordinated and they're not conflicting times. So we're going to start doing that. And during that, we want to start building capacity. That's another thing that I heard. We want to build capacity to hold the conversations. So during the series of discussions that we want to put together around this, we want to make sure that we're talking about how to listen, how to hold the conversation, as well as how to support people when we are out and about and we see something that happens. What can we do in that moment? So that's something we want to inject in all of the conversations. And to be able to do that, we need to coordinate. So we'll be calling out for folks if they're thinking about putting some programming together. We know our student leadership group will. We know some other groups will want to do that. We want to make sure that we're also doing some capacity building for ourselves and our students, and also to support when we see something happen in ways that both de-escalate but also make it poignant that we don't tolerate that kind of behavior here at Shoreline. So that's one piece. Another thing that we're going to be sending out in an email is so that everyone, whether you're dealing with students directly or not, whether you're advising students, you're a club advisor, you're any kind of capacity you're working with students, they know where to go as well. So we'll be sending out a communication very probably early next week for that. And then finally, if you are feeling distressed, if you are feeling anxious, if there are things that are happening for yourself or you know of someone that you work with, we have the EAP program, and you can contact our HR department. And for our students, if they are feeling anxious, we have our counseling service. Let me just say one other thing, is that if you receive an information from our students or from anyone and they want it to be confidential, the only people, not the Title IX coordinators, but the only people who can hold confidence are our counselors in our counseling office. So make sure if they want to do something like that, they need to speak with someone in the counseling office. So with that, I wanted just to, I really appreciate that we have a community standard, that we know what we stand for and what we stand upon, and that I work in a place that cares deeply about each one of us and that we're valued, because we know when one's diminished, we're all diminished. So I talked a little bit, I welcomed you, I talked a little bit about how we're going to live into, in the months ahead and ongoing, our shared commitment to inclusiveness. The next piece we want to do is talk about some of the updates, some of the successes, the early successes that we've begun to experience because of the coordinated work that we've done. And so I'm going to ask for Mary Brigham, Beta, Lori, Chris, and Jennifer to come up, and they're going to have a chance to tell you through a kind of a case study what some of the things that we've been doing and many of you out there have been involved with. So with that, please join me in welcoming our speakers. Thank you.
That's okay. Good afternoon. Before we get started on the next piece, I do want to share another update with you about the Student Success Breakfast that the Foundation held a couple of weeks ago in this very room. And I know many of you were there, and I wanted to let you know that we raised a record $66,000. Thank you so much, because I know a lot of you really stretched this year and actually gave more than you have before. And that's why this year we raised a 50% more. It was a 50% increase over last year, which was $42,000. So lots of sponsors and lots of great individual gifts. So thanks to everybody. The enrollment update that we're about to hear is a really great case study which exemplifies disciplined excellence and continuous improvement in processes. And it also shows how when we work together and we coordinate across departments, the great success that we can achieve. And when we do research and we look at best practices, we can learn those also from other people, as well as doing research. We can go visit, which we did do when we went to North Carolina to visit Wake Tech College, who has an excellent strategic enrollment management process in place. And a lot of people from here went and learned what they were doing and came back and implemented some of those best practices. And when we implement what we learn and we continually improve that along the way, which we have done with this, we see great results, and we see the results that we want here at Shoreline. So this case study is the kind of success that we can expect here at Shoreline when we work together and when we follow the plan. So first, let's kind of look at who else worked on the student experience. I'm going to have you raise your hand if you spend the majority of your day in direct service to students. Okay, and keep your hands up. That's a lot of you. Okay, keep your hands up. Raise your hand if you talked to a student or a prospective student about one of our programs. There is a lot more. Okay. Raise your hand if you helped a student get financial support. A few more, okay. Raise your hand if you helped a student, I know it's like, hold them up. Raise your hand if you helped a student navigate the college or find their way. Aha. Raise your hand if you supported someone who supports our students. Okay, that's everybody. Okay. I am now going to turn this over to Lori Maxfield. All right.
Thanks very much. So I'm Lori Maxfield, Director of Communications and Marketing, and since I joined in August alongside our Executive Director, Martha Lynn, we've been excited to get to work on some really innovative and great plans forward with the marketing campaign here. One of our first steps was to look at the top of the funnel, the visibility at the broadest level, of which we reached out through a variety of mobile ads, online advertising, using a whole portfolio of different service providers, Claris, Hearst, Comcast. We've done a variety of mobile ads, and they retarget onto a desktop online. We've done paid search and retargeting. Perhaps some of you have seen the Comcast TV ads that rolled earlier this fall. Those digital video ads got a lot of play for us. So the good news is Shoreline Community College's name is getting out into our community, and we're getting visibility at the top of the funnel. We have a whole Facebook campaign with different ads and different organic social media efforts coming together, courtesy of the team that brings all this together. So building from that advertising, which we're doing now on a quarterly basis of budget allocation rather than an annual basis, we're able to pivot much more quickly and make adjustments based on the analysis and the statistics that we're seeing in our marketing and advertising. And this is helping feeding into the rest of the funnel, including our email promotion campaigns. We did a fairly robust 5-part email campaign series this fall to the students that were the warmest possible leads, those that had applied but not yet enrolled, or those who had been here before but stopped out. And we sent them a series of 5 messages that was highly data-driven. We could click right in to know which messages were clicked by which students, and that led to their later enrollment. The 5th message here that you see in this series included that video that you all saw in the opening week convocation, really showing the student transformation stories, and this got a good traffic for us. We've done some exciting new print materials, and these are interim pieces as we continue to develop our brand. This was a view book that we created for this in this fall quarter, a pretty simple overlay leaflet, as well as a new 1-page flyer template. We can roll that out and work with different departments as we fill in this customized template. And because these are interim, we can continue to change them up as we go forward and redefine our messaging. Finally, we work together with the folks that are bringing you Experience Shoreline. That's our info session and tour for new prospective students. So we were able to help re-visualize. That's the top part, the Experience Shoreline PowerPoint that's used. It's engaging and dynamic and vivid so that they can experience and imagine what it's like to be a student here. That presentation's also been used at fall recruiting events and fairs, as well as the promotional photo slideshow. It mirrors the one that you've seen here in the pub, but it's able to rotate in the background when we're out at events. And all of these work together at the top of the funnel, which is how we're building in awareness, visibility about our college so that we can bring in more students to enroll.
Hello. Hello, I'm Beta Maring, Director of Institutional Assessment and Data Management. You all know who I am. So Lori is referring to the funnel, right? So it's not a funnel cake. Don't get excited. There's no funnel cake. But we do have a funnel of strategic enrollment management. Now, that is a term that's called out in our strategic plan, but you might not know exactly what it is. Well, this is it. And it's referred to as the funnel. And I've kind of put it in 3 sections here: recruitment, onboarding, and support to completion. This is the sort of the life cycle of our students, from the moment they are interested in coming to Shoreline to the moment when they complete their goal. And what's so exciting is that we have Lori and Martha here to add this recruitment portion of the funnel and to build on and coordinate with all of the amazing work that has also happened over the past year in some other areas that you're going to hear about right now.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Kukin, and I'm the Associate Dean for Advising here at Shoreline. And some of these programs that we've implemented within the last year, taking in I think Lori mentioned it in another meeting, 14,000 potential students, is we've offered a program called Experience Shoreline. This is an information session for those prospective students to come here on campus and to learn about the variety of pathways in which they can begin their journey here at Shoreline, whether it is for a transfer program, a workforce program, a transitional program, a high school program. we're here for your continuing education, that we are here for you, and here's the variety of ways in which you can pay for it. And it also includes a partnership with communications and marketing in terms of offering students a tour, so they can actually see what it would be like to be a student walking across this campus. Once those students have decided that they want to attend Shoreline, in Chris Melton's area, she's going to talk about how she's made it easier for them there.
Hi, I'm Chris Melton. I'm the Director of Enrollment and Financial Aid Services. When we received the massive amount of information from Claris, it was hard to hear. They did a little bit of secret shopping, and that was tough. But a lot of improvements came from that, and it was really necessary for us to hear the brutal truth. Then we went to North Carolina, to Wake Tech, and there's so many things that we're doing, I had to write it down. So one of the things we learned at Wake Tech was that they didn't do an institutional data sheet. And so we came back and we said, let's not do a data sheet. In our office, we called that ban the data sheet. It was a barrier to students, and so now we don't consider the data sheet. We take all comers. We review the financial aid files of anyone who has indicated any interest in coming to Shoreline. And we're getting the aid to them much more quickly. An additional file reviewer was added, Donna Langley, and we added an additional front desk person that's shared between enrollment services and financial aid, who's Holly Burton. And so those two positions are key because now we have the additional resources to do this. All students receive their award information much more quickly. Our volume of calls and emails and in-person visits have gone down drastically. If they do come in or call, if students do come in or call, we pull their file and we review their file immediately. We don't wait. So there's no more date order, no more 22 weeks. Information's been made much more clear. We're even continually working on the website. That's always a work in progress. But our materials have been made much more clear and friendly. We went through all of that last year. A lot of work was done on that last year. So students get their email account at the point of admission now instead of sometime later when they register. So we can reach them and talk to them about confidential FERPA protected information much earlier. Student pins are updated several times a day by TSS. That's very helpful. We're implementing document imaging now. I don't know if you've been in our office, but we have a lot of paper, and that's soon to be no more. And also, our team puts a lot of effort. Sorry. Got a little choked up there. Our team puts a lot of effort into the work that we do, and we put students at the core of everything that we do. Thanks.
As Enrollment Services and Financial Aid has made the process easier, students continue on their path, and they are now meeting with the advisors in what we call start sessions, and we have our first big one in the quiet dining room on Monday with 40 students, and we're working with them. We have them divided out into table by the areas that they're interested in studying, and we're getting them registered for the next quarter. We have these ongoing, there's 2 to 3 every week, so we keep ourselves quite busy, not always with 40 students, by the way. Not yet. Like that. And then we encourage the students after they attend start sessions to become even more oriented to what it will be like as a student. And so a week before school starts, we invite them to new student orientation right here in this room, set up very much like this, although fuller. And we partner with student leadership and a variety of other departments, and we really want to make sure that the students are ready for that first day of school, and we do a great big kickoff. Actually, we do it twice now. We do one in the morning and we do one in the evening for now, could be more, and we're really excited about that, and we couldn't do it without the additional support of staff. So within the last year, we've hired 5 new advisors. Woo! Supporting students in different areas. We've hired 2 new success coaches, and I see our third Success Coach posting will be coming very soon, so if you're interested in serving on that committee, check your email. And with those Success Coaches, we also re-implemented, once upon a time we had it, but we brought it back, the Shoreline Early Alert System, which is supporting students who are here, and staff and faculty can refer students that they're seeing who are struggling or who may have some barriers. And our Success Coaches are first responders, so they reply to those emails and get the students to the services that they need here on campus.
Beta, where's the data? Before I get to some numbers, I just want to put this in perspective and put it on a timeline. So all of the things that you have heard all of the folks up here talk about have happened over the past year. So we look, yes, thank you. So we look at summer and fall of 2015. That was really the first time we had experienced Shoreline start sessions, new student orientation, all that new staff, and that's when we got the Claris report that Chris referred to, and that's when that visit to Wake Tech happened. So that really kick-started everything. And then you see all of the changes we were just talking about at the top, the top of the funnel. We see all the, Salesforce, we're actually using customer relations management. We're using new software, using new technology for recruitment. You see all the changes that Chris Melton talked about in her area. A huge and vast amount of coordinated, collaborative work. And it worked. So, yeah, right? So that bottom line is our increase year to year in domestic enrollment. So you see summer, fall, we saw a decrease, right? We're just starting out. Winter quarter, a smaller decrease. And then spring quarter, for the first time in 6 years, we saw an increase year to year in our domestic enrollment. Yeah. It almost makes me want to sing. I know, I'm going to sing from Frozen. No, never mind. Okay. And then it's continuing. So if our summer, fall enrollment combined, we're continuing on an increase. Now, you see that, 1.8%. You say, Beta, come on, you're a numbers person. Is that really that big of a deal? Oh, boy, yes. The answer is, yeah, it is a big deal. So let's look at our fall to fall numbers, the green line at the top, and that's our domestic enrollment, okay? So you see how we see declines, steady declines, on average a 3% decline. If between 15 and 16, if we've done the same as we had between 14 and 15, we'd be way down. We'd be way down. So that dark bar shows where we would be. The green bar shows where we are. So that overall is a 239 FTE difference. So we're 239 FTE better off than we could be. In context, at least 25 of the 34 other community colleges and technical colleges in our state continue to show declines in domestic enrollment. So in that context, it's even bigger deal. Now, it's not all sunny news. We are seeing some declines in international enrollment, but still, the case study here shows if we work together and we get things done, there's an effect, there's an impact. And, Chris Melton's crying, I also will cry because I find this work incredibly inspiring. I find it inspiring to work together, to work so hard, and to work so hard for students. So I just want to express my gratitude and hope that you can celebrate that we're turning things around here. And just thank you all. Thanks.
So let's have another round of applause, and for ourselves, for the great work that we're beginning together. Thank you. Okay. So first of all, I want to thank Chris for being emotional, because that's really an important, I mean, I was crying too. I was choked up as well, and I was watching other people. This is the work that matters because we care that much about our students. We know every day we come to work and we want to be incredibly successful because we know that this is oftentimes the first venture for many students, and it took a long road to get here, and we want to be excellent for them. And so, as I said, when we do things and we do it well and we coordinate, this is just the beginning. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why this plan that we started about 2 years ago is so important to the beginning evidence that we're seeing just today. But I want to talk a little bit about where we started. And we said, when I first got here, folks said if we could have a coordinated plan that everyone understood and get behind, that would really help us galvanize ourselves as a college and help us move forward. So I said, let's go on that journey of a strategic plan. So we have been on that, and we actually have a plan now. It has 3 goals, and so it's student success, discipline excellence, that's our process improvement, continuous improvement, and you saw that evidenced in the work that was shared just recently. And then, of course, our 3 E's around ecological integrity, economic viability, and social equity. As a result of that, we came up with 15 strategies. But when we did that, we also realized that words matter and that our vision, way up there, we refreshed our vision, and our board members, they accepted it. And now our vision is we are recognized for inclusive excellence in teaching and learning, student success, and community engagement. Our new mission is that we serve the educational workforce and cultural needs of our diverse students and communities. Now, as we started thinking about that, we started saying, well, our core themes, which is a requirement for accreditation, that's not something that we would probably normally do ourselves, but we realized that we needed to look at our, first of all, we had values, but I don't think we actually currently have 7 values. But we wanted to make sure those values also were in alignment with our plan and our refreshed vision and mission. So last fall, at fall convocation, we started that conversation about our values. And when we began thinking about our values and exploring them, we also realized a couple of groups said, our values and our core themes seem to be quite similar. So we're going to bring that work into what we're going to be doing in winter term, because we know that we need to probably change our core themes or readjust them or realign them, because our core themes really talk about mission fulfillment. They should really clearly show how we are realizing that bold vision and mission statement that we have. Now, we also know that our values aren't just mere words. They talk about a promise and a commitment that we're making to our community. So we want them to be demonstrated and lived. And so that was the other part of the work that we did during fall convocation, not just what the values are, but how would we know when we saw them demonstrated at our college? And so you're going to hear that in just a few minutes. So we have a plan, right? We've got these great ideas and goals. Now we're getting ready to implement them. And so over 75 people said, I want to get involved in making those strategies come to life. So we now have 5 steering committees. We had a coordinating committee, which was formerly known as the Student Success Coordinating Committee, which is now the Student Learning Experience. Remember, from interest all the way to completion. So that's what that group is doing. They've got many, many task force, and you heard one today, and the work that they've been doing in coordinating it. And now we've also changed a bit of the direction of our Strategic Planning and Budget Council to include some of the strategies that were mentioned in our plan, because we said if we had some groups doing work, we wanted to continue them. So now we have them, and all of them have met at least once. I know one group has actually met twice this quarter, and so we're well underway. They have charged work, they've got purpose, and so they're getting ready to now look at baselines, reports, artifacts, promising practices, best practices that will help us to take those strategies and create actions around them. And in those actions, we're going to be looking at what are we going to be doing over the next 5 years and painting a true picture of who we are and what we stand for. And it's going to be so exciting because then we'll know what this college is all about. That's the proof of it. And they're going to make a recommendation, all the committees make a recommendation to the executive team. And you're wondering why would that be? The reason being is that we're kind of like the FAA. There's going to be, there's a lot of planes out there. Well, they hope that they get up there, they fly, and they land. Well, that's the same thing. There's going to be a lot of activity, a lot of actions that are going to be put together, and we want to make sure that in any one year we can actually deliver on the actions that we want to take care of and to land in that year. So all those are going to be recommended to us. And then many of the things are going to require us to adjust or modify our behavior. So we're going to be bringing it back to the college community and say, we've got some ideas for our ecological integrity steering committee, and that's going to require us to think about how we do our behavior here at the college. Are we all in? Are we all in? So there's some things that we're going to have to be thinking about. It's not just a plan someone else is going to do. It's going to require all of us to do it. And finally, I would say that you're thinking, okay, that's great. Well, what about departments and divisions? So in 17-18, we're going to take the work that we've completed this year, and we're going to bring it and drive it down to the departments and division level so that there is coordination and a comprehensive feel so everyone's involved, because we need everyone, as we saw in just this one example in the case study. We want all departments, everyone, working on some part of the plan to help make sure that we're all coordinated, because we know when we do some things together, great things happen for our students. So with that, we're going to start evaluating. So when we get up here, like we did today, we had numbers. We're going to start saying, we did this action, here's how we improved, and here's what we learned, and here's how we're going to continue to improve for our students. So this is a little bit about the kind of the tri-piece of our plan, implementation and evaluation. So see if I can go one ahead. Like anything, it's important that we ensure understanding of what I've said, because this is very important. If there's any questions, I'll take a few. But the first is around our values. Our values are, let's see if I can read this from here. Okay. Our values are merely ideals that don't require demonstrated action from all of us at the college. True or false? False. It's false because we have to actually demonstrate them. We actually have to live into them. And this plan is going to help us to know if we really are and then make adjustments when we're not. The steering committees, the Student Learning Experience Coordinating Committee, Strategic Planning and Budget Council make final decisions on designing the 5-year plan. True or false? False. That's correct. They're going to bring advice and recommendations. It's going to come to executive team, and in many cases, we're going to bring it back out to the larger college to say, are these the actions that you're going to support, because we need you to either adjust or continue your behavior in certain ways to ensure that we can get the plan done for our students in this community. The actions in our plan will help create a picture of our common future. True or false? True. We're going to begin to be able to share with you what it's going to look like if we do these things, what we expect to see in 2021. That's exciting. I hope you're thrilled about it. And finally, after completing the college-level action plans, the next step will be to align the work of the departments and divisions to ensure a comprehensive, consistent experience for the diverse students and communities we serve. True or false? True. So there's going to be more work ahead for us at our department and division levels to align what we're doing, so ultimately we can realize our bold vision. So with that, we're going to continue back on to our work with our strategic plan, and I'm going to ask Laura to come up and talk about what we started at Fall Convocation around values. So Laura, please help me welcome her.
Thank you very much. For those that I haven't met, I'm Laura Rehrman, and I'm a special assistant to Cheryl, to the president, around community engagement and strategic planning, et cetera. So I look forward to welcoming you personally, those who are new to our campus. So Cheryl has started 2 years ago, not a top-down, we're going to do this project, but an all-encompassing, arms around this college, saying all of us working together to develop the strategic plan, to do the hard work of figuring out what those strategies are, to set a new standard for how we work together. That's what's going forward. And today, as we get to a discussion out of our convocation, which is when almost 300 people in the gym got together and said, what are the values that represent us today, authentic, and where we want to be, aspirational? And Julie, wherever Julie is, let's all thank her, she took all those charts and she put all those words together and compiled the information that I want to show you. So, what you said was this. These are the values along with the numbers. The numbers of times red dots or red stars were put next to these values. So that was the first instruction to all 18 groups to do that. What are the values, which are most important, etc. So you can see that respect with 99 stars was certainly number one. And you can see we went all the way down to creative flexibility, passion, and authenticity at the very bottom. The second instruction was to discuss in groups how you would priority rank these values. Now, not every single group did this, but the majority did this and said, our values then are student-focused, and underneath that are student-centered, students-first attitude, student success. Cheryl and Allison and the executive team looked at those numbers and said, yeah, that makes sense to group things as they were numbered, to group them under that heading. The second one was, of course, respect. We saw that was number one in terms of the stars, and we added integrity and honesty to that single value. And the final, inclusiveness. Again, a number of descriptors. Diversity, equity, and social justice also were mentioned, and those are ranked now under inclusiveness. So I'm coming back to you today to ask, do these make sense? Are these the words that describe who we are and who we aspire to be? Are we missing anything in that listing? And what are your general comments? Okay, so at your tables just now as you're grouped, I'm going to ask you to look at, hang on a sec. I'm going to ask you to look at all three of those and to ask yourselves those questions. Are we in the right, here we are, sorry. Select a reporter, so someone who's able to feed back to us what you've discussed, and ask, do the values suggested make sense? Should something be added that we missed? Are the values an accurate reflection of the discussion at convocation? So each of you, probably every one of you were there. Did we miss something? Is there something really important there at convocation that should be captured? And then we want to report out to the large group. What do you agree with in those values? What is missing? And then any suggestions or comments. So I'm going to give you about 7 minutes for that discussion. So lickety-split, and then we'll have a report out. Thank you. Okay, what did you agree with in these three values? Did it work? Did it not? Just anyone raise their hand, speak for yourself, for the table. And there are two microphones, mine in my hand, and Chetko's over there. Thank you, Chetko. So, agree? Disagree? Does it work? Okay, this table says yes, they are the right values. Are there other tables that would agree with that? Are these right? Yes? 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 They're probably, I can surmise that they're, though, not complete enough in many people's minds. So, but on the large scale, are they the right ones? Yes, Amy.
We had the conversation about where learning fits in, and I know we had that earlier in the week as well. But
Thank you. Amy is referring to admin team that met early in the week and did the same exercise. An admin team brought up the question of where does learning fit in here? So that's going to be something we're going to talk about in behaviors. Yes?
I'm not sure if this is the part where it goes, but I know our group spent a lot of time talking about having the resources to do any of these things that are our values, and that not having those is a real impediment.
Yes. That's a good inclusion in behaviors. How do we manage budgets and et cetera? How do we bring revenue in order to be able to do what we want to do? So thank you for bringing that up. And yes?
Hi, I wanted to echo the learning thing. We talked about that too. But our question, we didn't get past respect. Our question was about respectful of what and whom. Like, what does respect really mean in this context? Because it seems like what we're talking about is with us and not with the students as much. Accountability, sometimes respect is used to make all ideas as equally valid. And does respect mean including racism and sexism and transphobia on the same level of inclusivity of deserving respect?
Yeah, thank you very much. You'll remember that when this question was posed, it was really a question of what are our values as employees and faculty and staff. So yes, the students haven't been brought into this discussion yet. Thank you.
We had a very similar conversation about the word respect, and also a discussion about the fact that it feels like the world has kind of shifted under our feet since we had this conversation. I know that I polled my students yesterday and asked them what their biggest concerns were about what might happen on this campus post-election, and 20 out of 21 of them are frightened for their physical safety and the physical safety of the people they care about. So we added physical safety to the list. I don't know if that's a value, but it feels like making sure that students at the very minimum feel physically safe on this campus. And I think that words like respect, the president opened with the statement that all Americans share the value of respect, and I don't actually think that's true. I think we have a lot of evidence to the contrary right now. So I feel like we need to, as a campus, take a bigger stand in what we mean by that.
Yeah, thank you. And what you described as physical safety, I'd urge you also to bring up that same topic around what are the behaviors that demonstrate success, because providing physical safety for ourselves and students may well fall into the behavior discussion. Okay, Ernest, I see over there, and Chetko is coming your way. Is there someone close by here that wants to make a comment? Okay, the microphone's getting there. Thank you.
Hi, yes. Some of the feedback was we agreed with the idea of respect, but we think that does need to be broken down. One of the things that was shared by students at the table, there's 3 of them, was that it would be nice to see more patience in dealing with differences around students when they're interacted with, and that comes under respect. One of the other things that was put forward was the need for faculty, staff to be prepared to provide the service that the students are asking for. So to be able to solve their problems and answer their questions when they come to us, that's very important to the students at this table. And one of the things that we added that we thought maybe was missing was the question of excellence in our service delivery.
Great, thank you very much. And again, thank you to the students for bringing out, again, 2 really good behavior questions. So what does it look like to be respectful to the students? And I think you both, or the students at that table, described that. That's going to be the hard part of the work ahead. And I'm going to take just 2 quick comments and then on to the next.
Okay, in our group, we didn't notice that there was anything related to professional growth for employees, so we thought that that should be included somewhere. Like opportunities for training and development, really.
Thank you.
Our group thought, in looking at the words and the number of votes, that collaboration was up there really high, and we think that that would be an important value for us to add.
Thank you very much, everyone. I thank you for your patience with me as I really pushed hard on that time. So let me move to the second section of the work that we did that day. And that was to ask ourselves, if these are the values, then what are the behaviors that demonstrate that those are values that we're actually carrying out? It's not just words, it's in our behavior. And we heard just now a number of different behaviors suggested. So If we're student-focused, what you said that day at Convocation is we're taking time to know our students, and the students at that table said that right away. We're meeting the needs of students when they happen, and there were multiple responses to that and multiple notations of that. That patience and helpfulness, I think, Ernest, you said that very word. This is very important for our students. We're actively listening to students. We take the time to walk students to the appropriate help. That also was mentioned multiple times. It's not just an, oh, by the way, go that way, but let me take you over there. Let me introduce you to the person. Let me know that you made the contact that you asked for. We spend extra time with students. We help students find the resources they need. We have a timely response to students, and we certainly heard that in Chris's report and that team's report. They've just eliminated all sorts of steps in financial aid that are allowing students to move more quickly towards their goals. We're responsive and flexible for students, and students have high goals that we support. That's the not yet component of our work, that the student has a high goal but may not yet be able to get there because they came here to get what they need to get to achieve that goal. So those were some of your comments under student focused, and that's the handout on the table, so you will see all three of the values. Under respectful, active listening came up multiple times. We know that's true with each other and certainly true with listening to our students. We're caring, we effectively communicate between faculty, administration, between staff and administration. So we got some work to do there too. We're modeling behavior. Again, we heard that as you commented on the values. How do we actually behave with each other and with our students? We're present and we follow through. We help others feel they are valued. We support each other. We collaborate, as Mary just called out. We ask each other questions and we share materials. We saw that in the case study. And we respect differences and we smile. That came up also on our flip chart. So that's under respectful. And then finally, inclusive. We noted on our flip charts that means we're willing to work together. We invite people to join in. All are welcome. We're thinking about everyone on campus. We're empathetic, caring for those who are facing adversity, and we heard very starkly in one of our faculty members' classes, we have 20 out of 21 students who fear for their own physical safety or their families' and friends' safety. So we've got to really step up. There's cross-campus collaboration and dialogue. Again, we heard that beautifully expressed in the team that reported on enrollment, and guess what? If you do that, you get the results you really aspire to. We're available for others, and we anticipate the barriers to help students overcome and remove obstacles. And this, again, came up multiple times on the flip charts. So now, on the table, you have proposed values. They're on a green sheet. So if your green sheet's on your table, flip it over. And if you don't have one, then let us know and we'll get it to your table. And so we've split these up around the room. Groups of tables are talking about student-focused or respectful or inclusive. And again, we're asking you to select a recorder to take notes on the chart paper because Julie will be getting those back. We'll be working on them again. And again, share with what you agree with on those behaviors noted. What are we missing? Would you add to those behaviors? And select a person to report out. So the behavior part is really where the rubber hits the road, because we can say we're respectful and then demonstrate through behaviors that indeed we're not, or vice versa. So this is the work that we're going to ask you to be articulate about as we begin to work towards finalizing these values in winter quarter and through the spring. So time-wise, we're going to have 15 minutes for you to talk at the table. So a little more time, and then we'll report out again. So go to it. Okay, let's begin to hear from each other on what we've talked about. Obviously, with all the energy in the room about this is a conversation we need to have again and more. But you've given it a very good start today. So let's hear from each other. Let me, though, ask first, on your pieces of paper, would you please note the value that you addressed so that when Julie comes to recording this, she doesn't have to try to figure it out. So just write down the value if you haven't. So thank you. So who would like to start with the comments at your table? Again, share what you agree with, were there things missing, etc. Yes?
Yeah, I'm Holly from, I'm a customer service specialist from Enrollment and Financial Aid. And our value was inclusive. So the main thing that we kept circling around was providing easily accessible resources for students in a variety of formats. So in other words, sometimes we have a lot to offer as a college. We have a lot of support services and systems, but sometimes people don't know that we actually have them. So we need to keep our materials updated and make sure we have paper copies of things so that people know what we've got. So that also included things like, based on the safety issues, information on safety resources on campus, because we do actually have some. We need to think about how we, sort of communicate those things. And then better directional materials, because as an example, we have a map of all the buildings on campus, but sometimes the room numbers we don't know exactly. Like I work in the Foss building, and sometimes people will come up to us and say, can you tell me where room 529 something or other is? And we know it's the advising center, but we don't know the number. So that, it'd be good to have a little bit more refinement on that. Okay?
Thank you very much, Holly. Yes, Amy is here, and Chetco is coming with the microphone. Easily accessible and diverse ways of information. That is never done and done. It's always a question we ask ourselves as new conditions arise. So thank you.
Hello. We have student-focused, and this table would like to rename that student-centered. We agreed that focus doesn't seem to include the student, whereas centered did. So we would like to propose that student focus becomes student-centered.
And did you write it on there?
We did.
Amy, good, thank you.
And one of our discussion points was how difficult it is with morale and workload issues to be student-centered, and what some of the things that are already listed here look like. We kind of didn't agree with some of them. We have at this table faculty, classified, and administrator, and we were really concerned about spend extra time with students. What does that mean if we are already all maxed out on every front? Mm-hmm. So what we proposed as alternatives are supporting students to take responsibility for their own success, challenging and supporting students to meet their goals, helping students develop success skills, holding high expectations for all students. When making decisions, considering the impact on students first, considering the unintended consequences of our decisions on students who are most at risk, and clearly communicating to students the available resources so that they have the ability to take that step for themselves. So we are sort of trying to be balanced in how we can actually behave student-centered ways in the real day-to-day existence, and giving students that responsibility so that they are empowered to be successful.
Yeah, thank you. Is there an agreement in the room? That was well described. Thank you very much. So, bravo. And I think Chetco has the next commenter. Thank you.
Hi. We had respectful, and we wrestled with that quite a bit. Respect implies neutrality without emotion, which normalizes violence. And that relies on the assumption of a level playing field. Everyone has equal access to respect, which they don't. That whole idea of you have to give respect to get it. This evacuates, this is a long sentence. This evacuates a power analysis of historical violence and goes against empowering marginalized groups while centering whiteness. And we wanted to add communicate and to and with students under effectiveness in the list that we were given. we wanted to delete smile, gendered, racialized. I get that one a lot in the library. Add advocating actively for underrepresented groups, revise listen to, learn, feel, and dialogue, instead of just actively listening. And what does modeling behavior mean? Who decides what good behavior is? Add zero tolerance of discrimination. Add analysis of institutionalized violence. Behavior implies this is just individual problem. And in conclusion, put some respect on it.
Well done. Thank you very much. You know, it was interesting at the admin team, there was a discussion about respect that said, define respect as if you say it and you're my boss, then my doing that without question is respect. Other times we say it is about listening to each other and coming to a conclusion. So we have some work to do to identify, as you have done, as your team or group has done, to identify the levels of meaning around these words before we finalize them. So thank you very much. Other comments? There's lots of discussion.
Yeah, we just had a few specific behaviors for respectful that we wanted to add because that can be read in a kind of vague, generalized way. We thought that a little bit more actually looking at the person, actually becoming curious about the individual, and asking them questions and asking questions that are engaging to them, even if it's in a very kind of superficial interaction. You can still ask questions and they can still engage the individual. We thought maybe involve all voices from the community so in this process. So maybe if we're talking about how to interact with students, more students should be in this room. And also voices from the community themselves should also be in this room. Trying to, although it's very difficult, of course, we're all in education, to try to be relaxed, even in your interactions with others, because students can read that kind of rushed or impatience or agitation, and so there needs to be more of a conscious relaxation if that's possible. And many have said this about don't give others the runaround, just don't pass them off, be honest. If you don't know, just say, I don't know, and bring them physically to wherever it is that they're trying to go or to the people that they're trying to meet.
Good, thank you. And I heard you reference a lot of to students in those comments, but I also think we're referring to each other. Don't give each other the runaround. What does that behavior look like? So thank you very much. That's a good inclusion. Others, yes, right here.
Okay, we had inclusive. And one of the things we talked about was being empathetic and welcoming does not mean you're auto-accepting behaviors. So if those behaviors are not acceptable, we need to make sure that we understand that those are not acceptable. The thinking about, thinking about everyone on campus seems a little loose, and so how do we demonstrate? How do we get from thinking about to doing? So basically what we were coming up down to was these things need to become more concrete and intentional. And I think I was hearing that from a lot of you guys too. We talked about professional development on how to address values you don't agree with, whether it's among your coworkers or among your students. If we don't understand how to address those, we can't help the students learn how to address those. And we need to learn how to recognize our flaws and learn to overcome them. There's a lot of very positive stuff on these lists. I can remember from my group at the fall convocation, we talked about some negative things that we saw happening on campus that aren't reflected here. And we need to learn, we need to talk about and be honest about those flaws so that we can then overcome them.
Thank you. Yes, and if those, Joanna, if those things are not noted, please be sure you note them on your, so we get them back into the discussion. Ernest, here, Chetko, do you have a mic to go that way? No? Oh, you're
right,
next, Ernest.
So We also talked about, we had respect, and we also talked about making sure that this, we're learning how to respect each other as we work together, also the same way we would want to respect the students. So we all have the same kind of respect, because if we're not treating each other well, how are we going to treat the students? So, but let's see, one of the things that we talked about was expanding on the, respecting differences. We want that to include, respecting differences of opinion. So it's okay if we disagree. And the value in the process is the actual talking to each other, not that we have to agree after we've talked. It's okay. And we can respect each other after that conversation. Consistency, even when you don't feel like it or don't like or respect the other person, being the same. Showing up on time, or show up on time, to your meetings with each other, with students. Allow students to be as much a part of their process as possible. I'm a parent. When I do it, I had to learn to let go and give them more stuff to do. We also agreed we should take SMILE off the list. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. So no smiling from now on, no smiling. But golden rule, though, that was good. Thank you. Ernest.
Okay, without a smile. It's hard. Right, some of what was said about our limited time to know students, and thinking about not only the students being diverse, but also we have to realize that, say, faculty and staff are diverse. Not have assumptions that everybody have the same amount of time to give, those types of things. And in terms of meeting the students' needs, we said we really need to get to know our students and not base our judgments on assumptions and possibly even stereotypes. And in order to meet their needs, we also need to examine our lenses a little bit. How do we perceive people across difference? Avoiding that. And then we talked a little bit about this, active listening requires like a commitment to that and the skills to be able to do that, and that implies some training and that type of thing. We talked about some practical aspects of empowerment and the importance of encouraging students in their choices, encouraging them also in the sense of trying to help them meet their needs, but also in the choices that they make. And sometimes that's difficult because we might have other ideas about what they should be directing their energies towards. And then, supporting our students without implicitly, unintentionally discriminating between the students that we support. That's also, I think, critically important.
Thank you very much. Cheryl, we're right on time for you to wrap up. But thank you, everyone, for the seriousness with which you took this exercise, even within the constraints of time, the thoughtfulness, your passion, obviously, for our students and the work you do. So thank you very much. A big round of applause to all of you. And clearly, out of this discussion, we will not only have some further behaviors to add to this and to support values, but several tables brought up the need for training. So identifying specifically what that training is and how it gets implemented on the campus, I think, is an outcome of your contributions to this. So thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura. Thanks, Laura, and thanks to all of you. This is not easy work. And so we've got some things planned ahead. So the first is to take this input in that we've received, and then, of course, at our next college update we're going to bring it back to you. We are going to involve students in this next iteration so that we get their input in, so that we're making sure that when we talk about being respectful, obviously we do a lot of service to our students and community. What does it look like if they were receiving it from us? So that's going to be a part of our work in winter as well. We're going to have some more updates on our strategic planning work that's going on through our steering committees, our coordinating and our council in winter and spring, so we'll be giving some updates there. They're doing some really hard and very focused work on baselines and metrics, so that's going to be coming forward. And again, I know that it's rigorous to kind of think about what does it look like when we're doing this well, and also what are some of the behaviors that are currently that we are doing that we would like to do less of, and also hopefully extinguish and do not any of. So we need to know those as well. So if you've got some of them, please put them on the list so that we know about that as well. So we now get to our college update evaluation. So if you have, each one should have some on your table. Please do let us know what worked really well. We only have really one time a year where we have a dedicated time almost all day to getting things done. So we appreciate the small amounts of times that we do have, including our updates, and we're going to be devoting it to this work because this is the work that's going to help us feel like all the things that we're doing are really having the impact, the intent, and the impact that we want on the people we most care about, our students, each other, our community, that we're serving. So thank you so much for your time. We have a little bit, please. We're, again, very, very interested in what you have to say. We improve what we do every time we receive them. And again, thank you so much for what you do every day for our students. You are the Shoreline experience. Thank you.